Welcome back to another edition of the Rogue Roundup, where I give my specs for Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, Standard, and Commander for cards that I think are going to go up. Starting off this week, we're going to take a look at Modern, and I like Gifts Ungiven, mainly because of the price point. Currently, Gifts Ungiven is going for, believe it or not, about 75 cents, and this is particularly the version of the Jace versus Spellbook. So if you can get in from anywhere from a quarter to 75 cents, I think this is a good long-term hold, especially since this card should see more play in Modern with Once Upon a Time being banned. With Once Upon a Time being banned, it dumbs down the effectiveness of both Tron and Amulet Titan and gives room for other combo decks like Gift Storm, or recently we saw a 5-0 finish utilizing Gifts Ungiven with Unburial Rites, Gristlebrand, Iona, and Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath. I expect more decks to try to synergize this combo of Euro and Gifts Ungiven, which could lead to more popularity of the card, and of course this will allow especially the Jace's Spellbook version to start to shoot up in value. Next up, we're going to take a look at Pioneer. Pioneer is also in a weird position with no bannings, but they did release data with the two Boogeyman decks not doing as good as people suspected they were doing. So I think this leaves room for some of the decks that are starting to pick up steam in popularity. One of these is Azorius Spirits. Azorius Spirits actually has a better win percentage than Bant Spirits, but Bant Spirits also does run this particular card, Rattle Chains. Both of them are seeing a lot of play comparatively if you add the two archetypes together, the Azorius versions or the Bant version using Collected Company. Then the Spirits archetype is actually the most played archetype in the Pioneer format. Rattle Chains is lagging behind in the deck, with other cards from the deck going up in value like the Supreme Phantom, the Selfless Spirit, and the Spell Queller. So I think that Rattle Chains is just a few weeks behind, and the demand will start to outstretch the supply, and we'll start to see some significant gains in Rattle Chains. I don't think that this card is going to be replaced. It does what Spirits wants to do in both the Collected Company version or just the Tempo version, with giving hexproof and protecting one of your lords. So it will take a lot to push Rattle Chains out of this spot. I'll be getting in at about 50 cents. It is from Shadows of Innistrad. I believe it was in an intro deck, so the supply is quite higher than any other rare from the set, but it's still a very, very lucrative price point to get in on. Up next is Legacy. This is more of a double dipper than really looking at Legacy, but I was surprised at how much play this card did see in Legacy. It sees play in decks such as Belcher or the Echo Artifacts decks that is trying to use the wheel effect with Narset Parter of Veils. And this card also sees tons of play in Commander. I was surprised that it has about a 5% dominance in the Commander format, meaning that all the decks that have come out since Echo of Eons was printed, 5% of all blue decks were including the card in the deck. Of course, this is mainly due just of how busted it is with Narset Parter of Veils, so as long as Narset stays legal in Commander, I'm thinking this card is going to be quite popular. So the price point of this one is very, very lucrative, with the current price being at $6, and the target price I would try to target these about $4.50. I give this a B+ rating, and I think that it's going to have a steady growth and then begin to rise if Legacy has a comeback, or if Commander is going to start adopting this two-card combo even more than it has up to this point. Speaking of Commander, this week for Commander I've chosen Bone Miser. Bone Miser is the opposite of the Waste Not, which is a card that gets reprinted and just keeps going up, up, up. A very popular card in basically any black that utilizes the discard effect. Now this one actually utilizes you as discarding, so it actually has more synergy with red when you have the ability to control the discard. So whenever you discard a creature card, you get a 2/2 zombie, a land, you get mana, and a non-land, you draw a card. So in Commander it's not as effective. Basically, if you have 3 opponents, you'll get more out of Waste Not than you would out of Bone Miser, but the upside of Bone Miser is being able to control whichever one you want. So I think a lot of self-discard decks are going to, of course, run Bone Miser, and the price point I think is right where it's going to be. I think that we are seeing the lowest price point of $2.50. Possibly could go down to about $2, but I think getting in at about $1.50 to $2 is where you should be getting in from Bone Miser. Ikoria Commander decks are going to be coming out, which means I think the supply is down from the Commander 2019, which we should start seeing a lot of growth in all of the rares that were just from the Commander 2019 set, especially one that sees as much play as Bone Miser. That leaves us with our top spec this week, which is Robber the Rich for Standard. So Robber the Rich is seeing a lot of play in the red Embercleave decks and the Gruul Embercleave decks. I've even seen it in blue-red lists. Basically, if you're running red and you're running Embercleave, you're probably running Robber of the Rich. Also, this card is showing up more and more in sideboards. I've seen Jeskai Fires run it in the sideboard, and I've also seen Wilderness Reclamation decks run it in the sideboard as like a switcheroo. When opponents take out all of their targeted removal, you can bring in Robber the Rich, and it can take over the game just by itself. What makes this card even more attractive, it is not included in the Challenger decks, which do have a red Embercleave Challenger deck. So most of those decks for a quick upgrade are going to want to upgrade into Robber the Rich. Robber the Rich is actually a budget mythic right now, sitting at $6, and I target these about $4.50, and I expect at least a double up as soon as those Challenger decks come out and people start upgrading into the Robber the Rich version. I hope you enjoyed this list of cards from this week's episode of the Rogue Roundup. Be sure to check back next week, or if you're a fan of this type of financial content, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. What are your 5 cards you're going to be investing in? Be sure to check out my other channel over at roguedeckbuilder.com for our weekly Market Monday episode. Thanks for watching.